The journey back home felt shorter than usual, perhaps because of the anticipation that bubbled within me at the thought of surprising Linda. The conference had ended a day early, and I hadn't mentioned my early return, envisioning the delight in her eyes when she saw me. That image kept me company as the miles rolled away beneath my tires. Pulling into our driveway, the familiarity of our home wrapped around me like a warm embrace. Yet the house stood quiet, the usual signs of life conspicuously absent. Pushing open the door, I called out, "Linda, I'm home." The silence that greeted me was unsettling. The kitchen, usually the heart of our home with its lingering sense of dinner and the low hum of the refrigerator, felt abandoned. The unopened mail on the table was a stark reminder of the world outside our little haven. Confusion began to seep into my excitement. I heard the faint sound of footsteps upstairs and my heart leaped. "Linda," I called again, my voice echoing slightly in the stillness. She appeared at the top of the stairs, her posture rigid. "You're early," she said, her voice devoid of warmth. It wasn't the greeting I had envisioned, and it stung more than I cared to admit. "Yeah, the conference wrapped up early. I thought I'd surprise you," I replied, trying to mask my disappointment with a smile. Her response was a tight-lipped smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I wish you had told me." "I have plans this weekend," she said, descending the stairs slowly, as if each step was a burden. "Plans? What kind of plans?" I asked, a knot forming in my stomach. She hesitated, then sighed. "I'm going away for the weekend, with James Anderson." The name hit me like a bucket of ice water. "James Anderson? Why?" I managed to choke out, my mind racing. It's complicated," she replied, avoiding my gaze. Complicated? That word echoed in my mind as I spotted the hotel booking confirmation and a box of condoms carelessly left on the table. A sick feeling took root in my stomach. "Linda, what's going on?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "It's not what you think, Mark," she said quickly, her eyes finally meeting mine. There was a plea in her gaze, a silent request for understanding that I wasn't ready to give. "What I think? Linda, how could you?" The hurt was palpable, a physical ache that spread through my chest. "Please, let's not do this now," she said, her voice breaking. "Do what? Talk about how my wife is planning to spend the weekend with another man?" My voice rose, anger and disbelief warring within me. "We need to talk, but not like this." "Not now," she insisted, her eyes darting away, unable to hold my gaze. The conversation spiraled from there, a maelstrom of accusations, denials, and hurtful truths. That evening I had envisioned, one of reunion and warmth, had turned into a nightmare. Our home, once a place of love and security, felt like a battleground, and I was woefully unprepared for the siege. The silence that followed our initial confrontation was suffocating, a dense fog of disbelief and betrayal settling between us. Linda retreated to the bedroom, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the damning evidence of her intentions scattered on the kitchen table. My heart raced as I tried to process the reality that my wife, my partner of 22 years, was planning to spend the weekend with another man. I picked up the hotel booking confirmation, the words blurring as anger and sorrow waged war within me. My hands trembled as I dialed our children's numbers, fabricating a family emergency to bring them home. It felt like a betrayal of a different kind, using our children in this way, but desperation clouded my judgment. As I waited for their responses, Linda reappeared, her eyes rimmed with red. "Mark, please, can we talk about this?" she pleaded, her voice a mix of defiance and desperation. "Talk? Linda, how could you even think of doing this? With James Anderson, of all people?" I spat out, the hurt evident in my voice. "It's not what you think, Mark. It's complicated," she repeated, wringing her hands nervously. "Complicated? You're planning to betray our family, our marriage, and you call that complicated?" I couldn't mask the bitterness in my voice. "Mark, please. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It just happened," she tried to explain, her voice faltering. "Just happened?" "Linda, you made a choice. You chose him over us," I countered, my voice rising with each word. She flinched at my accusation, and for a moment, the facade of resolve she had been holding crumbled. "I'm sorry, Mark. I never wanted to hurt you or the kids. I just felt so trapped, and James, he was there. He listened to me." "Trapped? In our marriage? With our family?" The revelation cut deeper than any physical wound could. "Is that what our life together has been to you? A trap?" "No, Mark. It's not like that. I love you and the kids. I lost myself somewhere along the way," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. The doorbell rang, cutting short our conversation. Our children, drawn back home under false pretenses, stepped into the eye of the storm, their confused faces mirroring the turmoil that had taken hold of our lives. As we sat them down to explain the situation, the weight of our collective future pressed down on me. The family we had built, the love we had shared, all seemed to hang in the balance, threatened by the specter of betrayal and the shattered illusions of our once happy home. The living room, once a sanctuary of laughter and shared memories, turned into a cold amphitheater of judgment as our children, Alex and Sarah, sat across from us, their expressions a mixture of confusion and concern. "Mom, Dad, what's going on? Is everything okay?" Sarah, the younger of the two, broke the silence, her voice laced with worry. Linda and I exchanged a glance, an unspoken agreement passing between us to shield them from the rawest parts of our reality. Yet, the truth, as always, found its way to the surface. "Your mom and we're going through a difficult time right now," I began, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "Difficult time? What does that mean?" Alex, ever the direct one, pressed for clarity. Linda interjected, her voice stronger than I had heard it all evening. "It means that I made a mistake. A big one. And I'm so sorry that it's affecting all of us now." Sarah's eyes widened, and Alex leaned forward, his protective instincts kicking in. "What kind of mistake?" he demanded. I took a deep breath, the weight of the next words feeling like boulders on my chest. "Your mother was planning to spend the weekend away with someone who is not part of our family." The room fell silent, the implication of my words hanging heavily between us. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth, tears welling in her eyes, while Alex's expression hardened, his gaze shifting between Linda and me. "You were going to cheat on Dad?" Alex's voice was low, incredulous. Linda flinched at his words, nodding slowly. Yes, I was thinking about it. But it's not that simple." "How is it not simple?" Sarah's voice cracked, her composure breaking. Linda reached out, her voice desperate. "I felt lost, and I made a terrible decision. It's not an excuse, but I want you both to know that I love you and your father very much." Alex shook his head, standing up abruptly. "How could you do this to us?" "To Dad." His voice was a mix of anger and disbelief. "I don't know, Alex. I truly don't know," Linda replied, her voice breaking. I stood, placing a hand on Alex's shoulder, trying to offer some semblance of comfort in the chaos. "We're going to work through this as a family. It's going to be hard, but we need to try." Sarah, tears streaming down her face, looked up. "Can we even get past something like this?" Her question hung in the air, a poignant reminder of the long road ahead. The confrontation had laid bare the fractures within our family, the trust and unity we once took for granted now shattered by betrayal and heartache. Yet, beneath the pain and anger, a fragile hope persisted, a belief that perhaps, through honesty and effort, we could rebuild what had been broken. The days that followed were a testament to the complexity of human emotions, a blend of anger, forgiveness, hope, and despair. We found ourselves in a relentless cycle of discussions, each conversation peeling back layers of misunderstanding, neglect, and unspoken needs that had festered beneath the surface of our marriage. One evening, as the autumn sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the living room, Linda and I sat opposite each other, a gulf of hurt between us, yet with a mutual determination to bridge it. "Mark, I know saying sorry isn't enough, but I am. From the bottom of my heart." Linda's voice was steady, her eyes meeting mine with a sincerity I hadn't seen in years. I nodded, the anger that had been my constant companion beginning to ebb. "I appreciate that, Linda, but we need to understand how we got here. How did we let our marriage become this?" Linda sighed, a deep, weary sound. "I think we stopped seeing each other, Mark. Not physically, but all the little things. We got so caught up in being parents in our jobs that we forgot to be us." Her words struck a chord, a realization dawning on me. "You're right. I can't even remember the last time we just talked. Not about the kids or work, but about us, our dreams, our fears." A silence fell between us, a reflective pause as we both grappled with the truth of our neglect. Linda reached out, her hand tentatively covering mine. "Do you think we can find our way back to that? To us?" I turned my hand, intertwining our fingers, a symbolic gesture of my willingness to try. I want to believe we can, Linda, but it's going to take time and effort from both of us. She nodded, a tear escaping down her cheek. I'm willing to do the work. I miss us, Mark. I miss you. And I miss you, Linda. Let's start with the truth, all of it. No more secrets, no more lies. Linda took a deep breath, as if preparing to dive into icy waters. Okay, the truth is my relationship with James, it was never physical, but it was an emotional affair. He gave me attention, made me feel seen at a time when I felt invisible in our marriage. Her admission was a punch to the gut, yet it was laced with a relief that the worst of the secrets were now in the open. I understand, I said, the words bitter yet necessary. And I've been distant, too caught up in my own world. We both make mistakes, but if we're going to move forward, we need to rebuild on a foundation of honesty. Linda squeezed my hand, a pact between us. Honesty and love. We loved each other once deeply. I believe we can find that again. As the night grew deeper, we continued to talk, unraveling years of lies and misunderstandings, each truth a painful yet healing stitch in the fabric of our relationship. It was the beginning of a long journey, but for the first time in years, we were walking it together. The revelation of Linda's emotional affair and our mutual neglect had sent ripples through the foundation of our family. Alex and Sarah, caught between their love for us and their sense of betrayal, struggled to navigate their emotions. Our home, once filled with warmth and laughter, had become a battleground of silence and whispered conversations. One Saturday morning, I found Sarah in the kitchen, her eyes red from crying. She was staring blankly at her cereal, the milk turning soggy as the minutes ticked by. "Sarah, honey, can we talk?" I asked gently, taking a seat beside her. She looked up, her expression a mix of anger and pain. "What's there to talk about, Dad? That mom was unhappy and almost left us for someone else." Her words stung, but they were not without truth. "I know it's hard to understand, and I'm not asking you to excuse what happened, but your mom and I were trying to fix things. Can you, though?" Her voice was skeptical, laced with hurt. "Can things ever go back to how they were?" I sighed, the weight of her question heavy on my shoulders. "No, they can't, but maybe we can build something new, something better." Sarah shook her head, tears brimming in her eyes again. "I want to believe that, Dad. I really do. But it's so hard." I reached out, enveloping her hand in mine. "I know, sweetheart, it's going to be hard for all of us. But we're a family. We can get through this together." Later that day, Alex confronted Linda in the living room, his tone accusatory. "How could you do it, Mom? How could you think about leaving us?" Linda, her face pale but determined, faced him. "Alex, I am so sorry. I lost sight of what truly mattered. But leaving you or your sister was never my intention." "Then what was your intention?" Alex's voice was cold, his arms crossed defensively. Linda took a deep breath, her voice trembling. "I was lost, Alex. I felt alone and unseen in our marriage. It was no excuse, but I sought comfort in the wrong place." Alex shook his head, disbelief and anger warring within him. "And what about us? Did you think about how this would affect Sarah and me?" The guilt on Linda's face was palpable. "Every day, every moment since, I made a terrible mistake, and I would do anything to take it back." Alex's demeanor softened slightly, the anger giving way to sadness. "I just don't understand, Mom. I thought we were happy." Linda stepped closer, her eyes filled with tears. "We were, in many ways. But happiness can be deceptive, Alex. Your father and we forgot to work on our marriage, to communicate. We took each other for granted." Alex looked away, the hurt still evident in his posture. I guess we have a lot to work on as a family." Linda nodded, moving to hug him, but he stepped back, not ready to bridge the gap just yet. "Yes, we do. And I hope, in time, you can forgive me." The fallout from our confrontation was a bitter pill to swallow, but it forced us all to confront the reality of our situation. As a family, we were broken, but not beyond repair. The path to healing was fraught with challenges, but it was a path we were now committed to walking together, step by painstaking step. As autumn waned into winter, the cold outside mirrored the chill that had settled over our household. The initial shock of Linda's emotional affair and the subsequent revelations about the state of our marriage had given way to a deep, pervasive sadness. Yet, Beneath that sadness, a fragile seed of hope began to sprout. Hope that perhaps we could emerge from this tempest stronger and more united than before. One frigid evening, as we gathered in the living room with mugs of hot chocolate, an air of tentative optimism surrounded us. The fireplace crackled, casting a warm glow that seemed to beckon us closer, urging us to bridge the emotional distances that had grown between us. Alex broke the silence, his voice hesitant. "Mom, Dad, I've been thinking, maybe we could start doing family nights again, like we used to." Linda smiled, a genuine warmth reaching her eyes. "I'd love that, Alex. What did you have in mind? Maybe we could start with a movie night? Pick something we all like, make some popcorn, just to be together," Alex suggested, a note of longing in his voice. Sarah, who had been unusually quiet, chimed in. "Can we maybe talk about things too? Not just watch movies, but really talk about how we're all feeling." Her vulnerability was a beacon, guiding us back to the essence of family, openness, and support. I nodded, feeling a lump form in my throat. "Absolutely, Sarah. We've all been through a lot. It's important we share our feelings, understand each other better." Linda reached across the space between us, her hand finding mine. "I think it's a wonderful idea. Let's make it a safe space, where we can all be honest and heal together." The conversation that night was a balm, soothing the wounds that had festered in silence. We laughed, we cried, and most importantly, we listened, truly listened, to one another. Weeks passed, and our family nights became the cornerstone of our healing process. It was during one of these evenings that Linda and I found ourselves alone, the kids having retreated to their rooms, basking in the afterglow of a particularly heartfelt discussion. "Mark, do you think we can really get past this?" Linda asked, her voice a whisper against the backdrop of the dying fire. I turned to her, my heart heavy with the weight of everything we've been through, yet lighter than it had been in months. "I believe we can, Linda. It won't be easy, and it won't be quick. But I believe in us, in our family." Linda leaned her head against my shoulder, her presence a reminder of the love that had once been unassailable. "I'm scared, Mark. Scared of slipping back into old habits, of hurting you and the kids again." I wrapped my arm around her, pulling her closer. "I'm scared too. But we've taken the hardest step, facing our problems together. As long as we keep communicating, keep trying, I think we'll make it." Linda lifted her head, her eyes meeting mine in the dim light. "Promise me we'll always fight for us, for our family." I kissed her forehead, a pledge in the gesture. "I promise, Linda. No more running, no more hiding. We face everything as a team." The reckoning of our past actions and the pain they had caused was a crucible, testing the very limits of our resilience and love. Yet, as we sat there, united in our determination to rebuild, I couldn't help but feel a profound gratitude for this second chance. Our journey was far from over, but for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about the destination. The winter thawed into spring, bringing with it a sense of renewal that permeated our household. The efforts we had put into mending the fabric of our family were beginning to bear fruit. Conversations flowed more freely, laughter returned, and the walls we had built around our hearts started to crumble. It was in this season of rebirth that Linda and I decided to renew our vows, a symbolic gesture to mark our commitment to a fresh start, not just as a couple but as a family unit. One afternoon, while planning the ceremony, Sarah and Alex sat with us at the kitchen table, their faces a mix of curiosity and excitement. "Are you really going to do the whole wedding thing again?" Sarah asked, her eyes wide. "Like, with a dress and everything?" Linda laughed, the sound lighter than I had heard in a long time. "Well, maybe not the whole wedding thing, but yes, I thought I'd wear a dress. Something simple." Alex, who had been scrolling through his phone, looked up. "Can I be the one to give you away? I mean, if we're doing roles and stuff." The question caught me off guard, a lump forming in my throat at the significance of his request. Linda reached across the table, squeezing Alex's hand. "I would love that, sweetheart. It would mean the world to me." I cleared my throat, touched by the gesture. "And Sarah, would you be okay with helping your mom plan this? Maybe help with the decorations?" Sarah beamed, nodding enthusiastically. "Of course. This is going to be so cool, like a project we can all work on together." The planning of the vow renewal became a family affair, each of us contributing ideas and taking on tasks. It was during these moments of collaboration that I realized how far we had come. The event wasn't just about Linda and me reaffirming our love. It was a celebration of our family's resilience and unity. The day of the ceremony was bathed in the gentle light of early spring. Our backyard transformed, adorned with flowers and ribbons, the embodiment of hope and new beginnings. As Linda walked toward me, arm in arm with Alex, I couldn't help but marvel at the woman she was. Strong, beautiful, and courageous. When they reached me, Alex placed Linda's hand in mine, his voice steady but emotional. "Take care of her, Dad." I nodded, my voice thick with emotion. "Always, son." The vows we exchanged were simple but profound, promises not just to each other but to our children, to our family. We spoke of understanding, patience, and forgiveness, of supporting each other and nurturing our family's bond. After the ceremony, Sarah came up to us, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "This was beautiful, Mom, Dad. I'm so proud of us." Linda wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. "We couldn't have done it without you and Alex. This is as much your achievement as it is ours." I looked around at our small gathering, feeling a deep sense of peace. Today marks a new beginning for us all. Let's make the most of it, together. As the day gave way to evening, and our friends and family departed, the four of us remained, basking in the glow of our renewed promises. The journey ahead would undoubtedly have its challenges, but as I watched my family, laughing and talking with ease, I knew we were ready to face whatever came our way. Together, we had weathered the storm and emerged stronger, our bond unbreakable. This wasn't just a new chapter in our lives. It was a whole new book, waiting to be written.